Welcome to Web Handling. My name is Dave Roysum. This war story is about cognitive dissonance, a very common human failing in reasoning. It was about a customer who refused to believe that their own machine was the source of the problem, despite ample evidence to the contrary. I hope you enjoyed the last two more artistic shows. However, they almost killed me because it took more than one day each to produce. Thus, I will be backing off a half step to a more manageable industrial and utilitarian video format for this month's shows. The backstory is quite straightforward and quite common. A supplier receives complaints from a good customer who is returning many rolls for wrinkling. I'm called in to investigate. It's not unusual for me to be an arbitrary in customer-supplier disputes because I am an unbiased expert as much as any person can be. My customer is always the web, as I've said on many occasions. The conclusions will always be the same and are based on experience and physics rather than any attempt to appease anybody with a more pleasant presentation. The steps are straightforward. First, I go to the nonwoven supplier and get as much background as possible and to view the web and web manufacturing line. Then I will always suggest, if not insist, that we will also need to visit the customer where the problems manifest themselves. This is always a delicate political mission. I was warned ahead of time that this particular customer was not going to be very receptive. The customer is expecting first mea culpas for making their lives more difficult. Then the customer is expecting to hear the supplier's plan on how they are going to fix the raw material. Instead, after reviewing the customer complaint and seeing their machines, they get unexpected pushback from me. As it turns out, it is an excessively crooked roller on the customer's line that is the cause of the diagonal wrinkle that is initiated at that point. Here is a visual representation of the rollers on both the one manufacturing line and the 5 converting lines at the customers. Wrinkling of that type, a diagonal wrinkle, had for all practical purposes not been observed on any of the 100 rollers at the supplier's manufacturing line. Instead, only one roller on one of the customer's 5 lines showed wrinkles. In summary, the web passed 199 rolls without trouble of that nature, but then failed on a single roller on a single line owned by the customer. So, whose fault was this diagonal wrinkle? The argument the supplier put forth is that the web is only misbehaving on one of the 200 rollers, and that one roller belongs to the customer. Other evidence is that a wrinkling expert can easily read the in-plane roller misalignment at a glance. All of my 5,000 Web 101 students have learned how to do this. Also, inspection on the floor showed the web to be remarkably flat and straight. Finally, a bit of sneaky evidence that the supplier never told their customer. That is, the supplier relabeled several returned rolls and sent them back. Most ran totally fine, because in most cases, the web didn't see that problematic roller on that problematic line. The customer also put forth arguments that the problem wasn't of their own making. First, they claimed the machine was aligned upon installation some 15 years ago. How close that was and documents to support any measurements that might have been taken was, not surprisingly, unavailable. The customer also noted that some products ran well. Of course, we as web handlers know that this could be due to more tolerant sets of nominal properties, such as being thicker, instead of there being a quality problem with the nonwovens. The good problem solvers should be asking themselves, why not flip the supply roles to see if the problem flips to the other side of the problematic machine? The answer in this case is simple. This nonwoven product was extremely one-sided, making the results, whatever they would be, not very conclusive. So, if you are tempted to conclude that the problem is clearly one belonging to the customer, you would be sorely wrong. The reason is that this problem, as well as almost all others, is a system issue. The problem is not that the machine or the web is at fault. The problem is they are not getting along with each other. Thus, the good problem solver makes a list of all remedies allowed by physics or ample experience. They are then sorted into categories of remedies the supplier can make and remedies the customer can make. For example, the supplier can redesign the raw material to be more tolerant to crooked rollers. This could be done in many ways, such as making the web much thicker, or adding carbon fiber, making it almost ribbon-like narrow, and so on. On the other hand, the customer can check alignment using precision tooling. By precision, I mean instruments that are easily capable of seeing a hair's thickness misalignment. If the roller is found to be crooked, it and its adjacent neighboring rollers can be realigned. How close the alignment needs is well discussed in my writings and teachings, so we don't need to do that here. So how did this situation end up? Not good. It turned out to be a stalemate. The customer refused to precision align the purportedly crooked machine, even when the supplier offered to pay for it. Alas, this situation is far more common than you might think. However, it is not merely a problem of cognitive dissonance. It can also be a matter of ignorance. If you haven't already learned about wrinkling in a formal setting, such as my Web 101 school, you may not be so likely to learn it or believe it during a troubleshooting event, especially if your peers have also not known the wrinkling science and are also having trouble thinking in new ways. Thank you so very much for allowing me to share experiences from the field. Stay tuned for next week's show, where we will again talk about failure at a customer. If you have a topic you would like to hear about, let me know in the comment section below. If you found any of these stories to be interesting or useful, please like and share and subscribe. And remember to check out the show notes for surprises. See you next time.